April 1945. Berlin is not a city, it is a tomb. The air, thick with brick dust and the metallic tang of cordite, is a constant deafening roar. Soviet artillery, the Stalin organs, play a symphony of destruction, and the Red Army is no longer at the gates, it is in the suburbs, fighting block by block, cellar by cellar. And beneath it all, some 55 feet under the ravaged gardens of the Reich Chancellery, the man who ordered the world into this inferno is living out his final days. This is the story of the Führerbunker. We often see this end in simple terms. The dictator, cornered, takes the easy way out. But the reality of those last 12 days is a story far more bizarre, more pathetic, and more terrifying. It's a story of delusion, betrayal, bizarre marriages, and mass suicide. It is the story of a world shrinking from a global empire to a few damp concrete rooms. This is what really happened in Hitler's bunker. Our story begins on April 20th, 1945. It is Adolf Hitler's 56th birthday. In years past, this day was a national spectacle. Grand parades, thousands of cheering supporters, a display of the Reich's power. In 1945, the celebration is a macabre farce. The bunker, a two-level complex of 30 small rooms, is crowded and claustrophobic. The ventilation systems struggle to pull in air that isn't choked with the smoke of the burning city above. The constant thud of artillery is the only music. A few high-ranking Nazis have braved the journey to congratulate their Führer. Erman Göring is there. Heinrich Himmler. Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's most loyal acolyte, is a permanent resident, having moved his wife and 6 children into a few rooms in the upper bunker. The generals, Keitel and Jodl, are also present. They gather for a brief, grim reception. Hitler himself is a shattered man. Witnesses from these last days, like his secretary Traudl Junge, would later describe a horrifying figure. His back is stooped. His hands tremble violently from what most historians now believe was Parkinson's disease. He walks with a pronounced shuffle, dragging his left leg. His uniform, once immaculate, is often stained. But his eyes, they all said, still held a fanatical, hypnotic power. This birthday party is the last great gathering of the Reich's architects, and one by one, they make their excuses. Göring, the head of the Luftwaffe, announces he must leave for his headquarters in the south. Himmler, head of the SS, also departs. They are rats, and the ship is sinking. They give their leader birthday kisses and then flee the capital. Hitler, in a moment of rare clarity, sneers to his staff that they are all abandoning him. He makes a decision that seals his own fate and that of everyone trapped with him. His generals beg him to flee to Berchtesgaden, to the Alpine Redoubt, a mythical fortress in the mountains from which they could continue the war. Hitler refuses. He announces he will stay in Berlin. He will fight and he will fall in the capital of the Reich. This decision triggers the final act. 2 days later, on April 22nd, the illusion of command shatters completely. The daily military conference is held in the bunker's cramped map room. The Red Army has encircled Berlin. The situation is hopeless. Hitler, desperate for a miracle, pins his last hopes on an SS detachment led by General Felix Steiner. He orders Steiner to counterattack from the north and break the Soviet ring. The generals in the room know the truth. Steiner's detachment is a collection of exhausted, broken units. Some don't even exist. The attack is impossible. For hours, they dance around the subject, afraid to tell Hitler the truth. Finally, the news is broken. Steiner cannot and will not attack. This is the moment the dam breaks. Hitler erupts in a storm of rage unlike anything his staff had ever witnessed. He screams, he rages against the army, calling them cowards, traitors, and liars. He weeps with self-pity, declaring that he has been betrayed by everyone. For the first time, he openly states that the war is lost. He collapses into his chair, a broken man, and says that all is over. He will not leave Berlin, he will wait for the end in the bunker. He gives his personal physician, Dr. Morell, a handshake and dismisses him, telling him he no longer needs medical assistance. He tells his secretaries they are free to go, but they, including Traudl Junge, chose to stay, bound by a strange, cult-like loyalty. The bunker shifts from a military headquarters to a death watch. The atmosphere becomes surreal. With Hitler having effectively abdicated, a strange, lawless void opens. Martin Bormann, Hitler's shadowy private secretary, becomes the de facto gatekeeper, controlling all access to the Führer, who now rarely leaves his private quarters. In the upper bunker, where the staff and the Goebbels family lives, the rules collapse. People start smoking openly, a crime previously punishable by death in the presence of the teetotaling, health-obsessed Hitler. The remaining SS guards break open the vast stores of alcohol and food. There are impromptu hysterical parties in the hallways. As the world ends above, the occupants of the bunker drink themselves into a stupor. Then come the great betrayals. On April 23rd, a telegram arrives from Hermann Göring in Bavaria. Göring, citing a 1941 decree that named him Hitler's successor, reasons that since Hitler is trapped in Berlin and unable to rule, Göring, should take full control of the Reich.
Hitler reads the telegram and explodes. To him, this isn't logic. It's a putsch. It is high treason. He strips Göring of all titles, orders his immediate arrest, and, in a fit of rage, reportedly laments that he ever trusted the corrupt, drug-addicted head of his Air Force. The first of his old fighters had, in his eyes, stabbed him in the back. But the second betrayal, the one that truly breaks him, comes 5 days later, on April 28th. Hitler is in the radio room when a frantic adjutant brings him a news clipping. It's a Reuters report picked up from a Swedish newspaper, broadcast by the BBC. The report states that Heinrich Himmler, der Treu Heinrich, the loyal Heinrich, the man who built the SS and the concentration camps, has been secretly meeting with a Swedish diplomat, Count Bernadette. The subject of their meeting, negotiating a separate peace with the Western Allies, offering to surrender all German forces in the West. This news shatters Hitler's last vestige of sanity. Göring was corrupt, but Himmler was the true believer, the high priest of his dark ideology. If he was a traitor, then everyone was a traitor. The regime was built on sand. Witnesses say Hitler's face went purple. He paced the small conference room like a caged animal, railing against the most loyal man who had now committed the ultimate act of betrayal. This, more than any Soviet tank, is what signals the end. The Himmler betrayal triggers a final, bizarre flurry of activity. Hitler becomes obsessed with loyalty and with his own exit. He summons SS General Robert Ritter von Greim, a Luftwaffe pilot who had bravely flown into the besieged city. In a surreal ceremony, with bombs shaking the concrete, Hitler promotes von Greim to Field Marshal and makes him the new head of the Luftwaffe, replacing the traitorous Göring. He orders von Greim to fly back out and arrest Himmler. At the same time, Hitler fixates on the loyalty of the one person who had never wavered, Eva Braun. Eva had been Hitler's mistress for over a decade, kept hidden from the German public. She had voluntarily flown into Berlin in mid-April, against Hitler's orders, to be with him at the end. Now he decides to reward her loyalty. In the early hours of April 29th, Hitler decides to marry her. A minor municipal official named Walter Wagner, who happens to be a Nazi Party member serving in a local Volkssturm militia unit, is located. He's dragged from a foxhole, covered in grime, and rushed to the bunker. He's cleaned up and brought to the map room. There, at a small table, with Joseph Goebbels and Martin Bormann as witnesses, Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun are married in a brief civil ceremony. She is now Frau Hitler. A morbid wedding breakfast follows. Champagne is served. The newlyweds, along with Goebbels, Bormann, and the secretaries, sit and reminisce about the good old days, while the bunker itself physically rocks from the impact of Soviet shells. Traudl Younger later recalled the atmosphere was that of a funeral. Immediately after the wedding, Hitler retreats to another room with Younger. He has two final documents to write. The first is his private will. It is surprisingly brief. He confirms his marriage to Eva Braun. He states that they have chosen to die together rather than face the disgrace of surrender or capitulation. He bequeaths his art collection to the nation and his personal belongings to his few remaining loyal staff. The second document is the political testament. This is his final word to the world, and it is chilling. There is no remorse, no apology for the tens of millions of dead, for the ruined continent. Instead, it is a document of pure, distilled hatred. He blames international Jewry for starting the war he himself began. He exhorts the German people to continue the racial struggle and to show merciless resistance to the poisoner of all nations. He officially expels Göring and Himmler from the Nazi Party. Then, in a final act of delusion, he names his successors. He does not name a new Führer. He splits the power. Grand Admiral Karl Donitz, head of the Navy, is to be the new Reich president. Joseph Goebbels is to be the new chancellor. Martin Bormann is named party minister. He has set the stage for his exit. April 30th, 1945. The end has come. The Soviets are now in the Potsdamer Platz, just a few hundred yards from the chancellery. They are fighting for the Reichstag. Hitler is told they could storm the bunker within hours. The day is a blur of systematic goodbyes. First, there is the matter of the cyanide. Hitler has long been terrified of being captured alive by the Soviets, imagining he'd be paraded in a cage in Moscow. He's also suspicious of the SS-issued cyanide capsules, wondering if the traitor Himmler had supplied him with fakes. He orders his personal physician, Dr. Stumpfegger, to test one. The chosen subject is Blondie, his beloved German shepherd. The dog is taken to a side room and given the capsule. It dies almost instantly. Hitler, who famously adored his dog, reportedly shows no emotion. He just needed to know that it worked. Around 2:30 p.m., Hitler begins his final farewell. He and Eva Braun emerge from their private quarters. They walk down the central corridor of the bunker, where the 20 or so remaining occupants have formed a line. This includes the Goebbels family, Bormann, the secretaries, his valet Heinz Linge, and his SS adjutant, Otto Günsche. Hitler shuffles down the line. His eyes are glazed. He shakes each person's hand, mumbling something inaudible to each. Eva Braun, by contrast, is composed. She embraces Traudl Younger, saying, "It's all over, goodbye." The couple then retreats into their private study. The steel door is closed. The occupants in the hallway wait. There is a tense, suffocating silence, broken only by the sound of the ventilation system and the distant rumble of shelling. Joseph Goebbels, Bormann, and Linge stand closest to the door. What happens next is a subject of some historical debate, but the most consistent accounts create a clear picture. Around 3:30 p.m., after a wait of approximately 10 minutes, a single gunshot is heard.
After a few more moments, Heinz Linge and Martin Bormann slowly open the door. The scene inside is small and pathetic. They are met with the sharp, unmistakable smell of burnt almonds, the scent of prussic acid or cyanide. Adolf Hitler is slumped over on the blue and white striped sofa. He has shot himself in the right temple. A small pool of blood is forming on the carpet. A Walther PPK 7.65 pistol is on the floor. He has also, it appears, bitten into a cyanide capsule simultaneously, a soldier's death combined with a failsafe.
Eva Braun is on the other end of the sofa. She has not used a gun. She is slumped over, her legs tucked beneath her. An empty cyanide capsule is on the floor. She died by poison alone. The king and queen of this underground kingdom are dead. The plan for this moment had been rehearsed. Otto Gunche and other SS guards rush in. They wrap Hitler's body in a gray army blanket, covering his shattered head. Bormann and another aide carry Eva's body. They muscle the two corpses up the 50 feet of concrete stairs, past the bewildered guards, and into the small garden of the Reich Chancellery. The world above is an apocalyptic vision. The sky is black with smoke and Soviet shells are landing all around them. They place the bodies in a shallow bomb crater. They have a problem. They need petrol to cremate them, as per Hitler's final orders. They must siphon gasoline from the few remaining half-destroyed vehicles in the Chancellery's underground garage. They manage to gather about 200 liters. They pour the fuel over the bodies. A first attempt to light it with a match fails, pushed out by the concussion of a nearby explosion. Finally, Heinz Linge throws a burning petrol-soaked rag onto the pyre. A huge fireball erupts. The remaining SS guards, including Gunche and Linge, stand stiffly at attention, raise their arms in the Hitler salute, and watch as the bodies of their Führer and his new wife burn. They do this for a few minutes before the shelling forces them to retreat back into the bunker. The fire, which was not hot enough for a full cremation, smolders for the rest of the afternoon. The bunker, now without its god, descends into chaos. The new chancellor, Joseph Goebbels, is in charge. But he has no intention of ruling. He dictates a final addendum to Hitler's will, a note declaring that he, for the first time in his life, will disobey a direct order from the Führer, the order to leave Berlin and lead the new government. He and his wife, Magda, have made their own decision. On the following day, May 1st, they execute the most horrific act of the bunker's entire history. Magda Goebbels, with the help of an SS doctor, systematically murders her 6 children. She dresses them in their nightgowns, tells them they are getting an injection for a vaccination, and gives them morphine. Once they are asleep, she crushes cyanide capsules into their mouths. She cannot do it herself, so the doctor, Stumpfegger, assists. She calmly plays solitaire afterward before breaking down. That evening, Joseph and Magda Goebbels walk up to the Chancellery garden not far from where Hitler was burned. They stand together. According to one account, they each bite a cyanide capsule. An SS orderly, as instructed, then shoots them both in the back of the head to ensure the job is done. Their bodies too are doused in petrol and set alight, though the fire does a poor job. The curse is broken, the leadership is gone. That same night, the remaining occupants of the bunker decide to attempt a mass breakout. They divide into several groups. Martin Bormann, Traud Junge, and Hitler's last military commander, General Weidling, are among them. They try to sneak through the Soviet lines, crawling through a U-Bahn tunnel and a maze of ruined buildings. Most are captured. Some, like Bormann, disappear. For decades, it was rumored he escaped to South America. But in 1972, construction workers in Berlin found a skeleton near the Layer train station, right along the breakout route. In 1998, DNA testing confirmed it was Martin Bormann. He had likely been killed or taken his own cyanide capsule during the breakout just yards from freedom. On May 2, 1945, Soviet troops of the 79th Guards Rifle Division finally stormed the Reich Chancellery. They find the bunker. What they discover is a scene from a nightmare. They find the partially burnt, grotesque remains of Joseph and Magda Goebbels in the garden. Inside the bunker, they find the bodies of the 6 Goebbels children lying in their beds, looking as if they are sleeping. In the garden, they discover the shallow grave with the charred, unrecognizable dental fragments of Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun. The Führerbunker was not a command center at the end. It was a concrete coffin, a small-scale model of the entire Third Reich. It was a place where fanatism, paranoia, and delusion compressed under the weight of reality. What really happened in those final days was not a glorious Wagnerian twilight of the gods. It was a pathetic, squalid, and terrifying collapse. It was the end of a regime not in a final battle, but in a series of suicides, betrayals, and murders carried out by hollow men and women who, having helped destroy a world, had no choice but to destroy themselves. The 1,000-year Reich had lasted 12 years,
and its final chapter was written in the damp, desperate, and ultimately empty rooms of the bunker.